What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at an offensive lineman that is rumored to be something Lions could be interested in this offseason, who has been recently put on the trade block by the LA Chargers. So let's get it started.
You know, I got to shout out DoseOfDion, man, because it was actually the first time I went live on YouTube. And, you know, guys don't know DoseOfDion. He put out a lot of good content for the Detroit Lions.
Welcome, everybody, to another video. Glad you guys are here. And today, we're going to be talking about an offensive lineman that has potentially some rumors going his way for the Detroit Lions. Now, this was actually really popping yesterday, but yesterday I unfortunately couldn't do that many videos. I wasn't home really at all yesterday, so I do apologize for that. So here we are today to talk about this offensive lineman. Now, you know who it is. You know, we're talking about Trai Turner. You guys saw the title. So we're talking about Trai Turner in today's video, the 27-year-old offensive lineman from the LA Chargers that would traded their last season for Russell Okung, who also went to the Carolina Panthers. So they got Trai Turner in return, which obviously means he has connections with Anthony Lynn, but unfortunately for him, he didn't have his best season. At least that's what PFF will tell you. And also dealing with some injuries, now he's someone that's apparently on the trade block. But if he doesn't get trade offers, it's someone that they could just release. So, yeah, that could happen. I mean, he could just be a free agent, and someone might jump on it. So, we're going to talk about Trai Turner in today's video because this rumor comes from NFL Rumors on Twitter. Okay, we followed them. They've gotten some things right in the past, and they say the Pro Bowl guard may be traded for the second straight year. The Chargers are looking around for a deal. Look for the Washington football team to be interested, and also the Detroit Lions. This one's probably because Anthony Lynn is our offensive coordinator, who is coming from the LA Chargers, where he was last season. So there's clear ties there, and it could make sense that the Lions would be interested, knowing that the right side of the offensive line is kind of, you know, a question mark. You know, we're not really sure what's going on there. And Trai Turner is a right guard. He's played right guard his entire career in the NFL. He is a right guard, so he could help the Lions out a little bit there, you would think. Now, PFF has kind of blasted this guy. I mean, they've given some horrendous grades in the past season. They actually ranked him as the 79th offensive guard out of 80 guards last season. I was like, okay, that's a little disrespectful. All right, I can tell you what, this guy did not look like the 79th out of 80th best offensive guard last year. I mean, he didn't look that bad. I watched a lot of game footage. One thing that's easy to do with offensive linemen is kind of overlook watching them and just like, oh, okay, you know, offensive lineman, well, he grades out well, he's going to be good. And you don't really know, like, how they fit a team. You really don't watch them, and you kind of just overlook that because it's not fun to watch. Let's be honest here. Sometimes it's not fun to watch offensive linemen, so it's easy to kind of just overlook any of that aspect of the whole player. But today, I said, nah, forget that. I'm watching Trai Turner, okay? That's been one of my goals this offseason, is to really watch who I talk about. And Trai Turner, I watched a pretty good amount of games that he played in last season. Now, he played mainly in the second half of the season, not the first half, dealing with injuries, which we'll get to because that's a very big factor. But at 6'3", 315 pounds, he was a former third-round pick out of LSU, who is now 27 years old. So he's not even that old, but he's had some major issues that have kind of come along with him. But really up till last season, I mean, he was looked at as a really good offensive lineman, offensive guard, because he was a 5-time Pro Bowler. Now, you know me, I don't get caught up in the Pro Bowls. All right, I don't do it. You know, I say no to Pro Bowls, okay? I don't know if that's a good thing. Maybe that's just because we don't get Pro Bowl. I just don't. You know, I'm not a big guy for Pro Bowls. I understand that a lot of it's, you know, it's popularity, of course, because it's the Pro Bowl, it's voting. And, you know, a lot of it has to do with team record and stuff like that. So I don't get too caught up in the Pro Bowls or the numbers there. So 5-time Pro Bowler, yeah, that's great. You know, it's congrats for him. But to me, it's like, okay, it's not that big of a deal. I don't really care too much. I'd just rather just focus on who the player is, okay? That's all I'm focused on. And we saw last season that, yeah, I mean, he didn't have his best year. So with ties to Anthony Lynn, okay, Lions could be interested, but why would they be interested in a guy who was with Anthony Lynn and had arguably his worst season there? Well, I broke down some film. You know, I went to watch him a little bit, and I have some takeaways. I'm going to show you guys some overlay clips while I talk about the things that I like about his games and the thing that I necessarily don't like about his game. And this is mainly off of last season, but we're going to talk about some issues that he's dealt with, which could be another reason for this. But one of the biggest factors that I think you could throw in here is that, remember, Justin Herbert was the quarterback last season for the Chargers, not Tyrod Taylor, which could have changed the offense a little bit, because if there's one thing you give Anthony Lynn credit for, quarterback in the best position to be successful and playing them to their strengths, and that's what he did with Herbert. He's not the exact same quarterback as Tyrod Taylor. Even though there may be some similarities in their game, they're not the same. So the offense probably did change a little bit, you know, knowing that Herbert started instead of Tyrod because Tyrod had the whole punctured lung. And for the first half of the season, we really didn't see Trai Turner at all. So it was really just mainly him with Justin Herbert and that offense. I don't know how Anthony Lynn's going to feel about it, but I can tell you I've watched him, right? I can tell you I've watched him and how I feel personally about about his game, what I like and what I don't like about his game, and maybe how I even think it could potentially fit into a Lions offense next season from what I've seen from Jared Goff and his film, and what I've seen from Anthony Lynn's offenses and some of the guys that we've signed. So let's start with the strength first. I would say the first thing that I like, and let's go with pass protection here, is I would say his biggest strength as a pass protector is awareness. Now, it's not something that everybody has, and we'll get into more pass protection a little bit later, but I think his biggest strength is awareness. Not missing assignments, picking up stunts, being in the right position, seeing everything that's around him. I think that can be an issue with them guys, especially younger guys. We talk about Wyatt Davis out of Ohio State. When he's in one-on-one situations, he's a good lineman. But the 3 sacks that he allowed came from miscommunications, not being there, missing the assignment, missing the stunt. I don't see that as a problem with Trai Turner. I think he's very good at knowing what's going on. You can't really fool him with fake blitzes and trying to get him to jump. He just doesn't. He's just really well disciplined. If there's no one in front of him, he'll find a way to go help somebody else. But he seems to be very aware of his surroundings and what is going on. And I think that's personally his biggest strength, and that's what helps him a lot as a pass protector, is he knows what position to be in. And it's not something that every offensive lineman has. So as a pass protector, it's really important to make sure you're picking up on things. And I think he does that really, really well. It'd be wrong to just say that this is limited to simply, okay, only in pass protection, because also as a run blocker, you notice this as well. Starting in one place, starting blocking his assignment, and then working off to pick up a late blitzer, picking up the late blitz. He just sees everything. He sees the entire field. And he's very well with his surroundings, knowing where he's going to go before the snap, but also during the play, quick reaction time. The next strength I would say in his game is blocking to the next level. Now, I'm not saying he's great at it, but he was asked to do it a ton. And with the Chargers, they asked him a lot. I can't tell you how many screens they threw this guy's way rather than the other side. They threw a ton of screens to the right side of the field for him to go block into the second level, for him to pick up linebackers, secondary players, corners, for him to block downfield. And at 315 pounds, it's not an easy responsibility. And it can lead to issues. We'll get to that. But he's asked to do it a ton, and he's not bad at it. He can block the second level. He can block linebackers second level. He's always looking to get downfield as a run blocker, but as a pass blocker, he can block to the next level. And he's pretty agile for a 315-pound offensive lineman. So I do like that. And it goes back to his college strengths. As I said, his biggest strength is pulling as an offensive lineman. And I noticed that with his game. They like to pull him a lot as a guard. One thing that I thought was really interesting last season with Justin Herbert and Anthony Lynn's offense is what they did was they actually took him from right guard on a play-action bootleg and had him roll out with the quarterback in front of him as a pass protector, like 15 yards away from the end zone. I thought that was really cool, to trust him to be the guy to pull out of that and go be the pass protector in space. They like how he plays in space. They like watching him play in space. And in the offense next season, that's going to be play action, misdirection, play action bootlegs, getting guys to the outside. I know that he can handle that responsibility because I saw it last season. And the final thing I would say is I think, he's got some solid lateral speed where that he's got a pretty solid quick step as long as he's, not getting off late. If he's getting off at the right time, he's got a pretty nice quick step in like zone run plays to get in front of the defense lineman who's shooting straight down where he has to get that first step to get in front. He's got some pretty solid, like I said, he's pretty athletic for his size. I mean, I will say that 315 pounds, he's pretty darn athletic. And that moves into some of the weaknesses. Let's go back to pass protection here where I said we talk about it a little bit more. And I think that's one-on-one situations. I don't want this guy on an island all the time in one-on-one situations. And I've noticed this more in third downs, third and long situations where it's passing downs. Not on as much early downs. He can hold his own against a defense tackle, interior defense lineman, but it comes on passing downs. When a defense goes out there and they start throwing out linebackers, they start throwing out pass rushers, defensive ends against, guards. And now you got mismatches in terms of speed. And while he's athletic, I don't want him one-on-one on an island that often. With help, he does a really good job of using his help, pushing his guy to the help. Right? He creates holes in the run game by knowing where the play is going to go and being able to set up his defender to get there. But in pass protection, you get him one-on-one against polished pass rushers, quick, twitchy pass rushers. There could be an issue. He opens his hips very quickly, allows guys to get to the right shoulder on him very fast. And, one thing he does well is he recovers. When a guy does get a step on him, he will give him a nice little chuck. He'll kind of slow down the pass rush, but he doesn't stay connected super well in space. If he's got help, great, but you're not always going to have help, especially on third downs where they're bringing extra guys. So for him, I don't want him on an island that often. And if against defensive ends that are polished, that are, pretty twitchy, I can see big issues there. And that's where I think the speed can become a question with his game. So I've noticed that about him, and that's not where I like him at his best. And in the past, look, he's been in heavy run offenses with Carolina. Last season, a heavy run offense. I just think he struggles on passing downs because they're trying to get the quarterback. Everybody knows they are. They pin their ears back and they're going. And for him, I think that can be an issue when he's one-on-one with a guy like that. My next thing as a run blocker. Now, as a run blocker, I don't think he's a dominant bully in the run game. I think he has the mentality to do it. I think he has the mindset to be a bully in the run game. And again, that goes back to college when we were told this guy is a mauler. I don't see him as a mauler at the next level. I don't see him pancaking guys like he did at LSU, not 15 pancakes. I don't see him creating these huge lanes by just, destroying everybody. But that's a habit as much as the NFL, right? Everybody's big, everybody's strong, everybody's talented. So you're not going to see that as much. I don't see that in his game. I think he's got the mindset. I think he's feisty. You can see him talking after plays, right? He's talking smack. Smart. He plays to the scheme really well. But just pure power one-on-one, just going against somebody, he's not going to run through somebody that often, especially on early downs. You're not going to see that. And that brings me to my next thing. He slips a lot. He slips a lot, like for an offensive line, like a lot. And his balance seems to be a big question there. And I think what I've noticed with guys that slip a lot, especially in the interior, is they overextend. Or even in a tackle spot, they overextend, right? They're trying to make a play that they necessarily can't get to. So for him, at his size, I think an issue can be overextension. Because especially on those passing downs where you got those quicker guys that he's trying to keep up with, a lot of times he'll just anticipate where to get to, and the guy can come completely free. And then he's out of position. He's got to, overexert himself, overextend. He can slip and fall. He'll lose balance. As a run blocker, trying to block it to the second level against linebackers, sometimes you'll try to see him really reach out, make a play, but he'll slip and fall because he's just trying to get there, but he can't. He just physically can't get there. He's not quick enough for that. He gives you the effort. He's willing to do it. They've asked him to do it a lot. He can show you it, but it'll also show you good. This guy will slip a lot. I mean, it's something to just watch for. If he's on our team next year, telling you there's going to be some slippage. It's probably the biggest one is injuries. Now, really up until last season, it was like, okay, 16 games, and it was like, okay, 13. Every year was like 13. He's going to miss 3 games. I'm not mad about missing 3 games. I don't like it, but okay. You're going really contact all the time. It's not terrible. But last season, he only played in 9, and it was groin, ankle, some knee, right? Those were his injuries. And that's things that can come back. Those things can reoccur. And I've also noted not only just 9 games in general, but I've noticed multiple games where he didn't come out, or at one point in the game he would come out of the field because he was injured. And that concerns me. With the issues we had with Big V last season, to see those kind of injuries, I'm just like, I don't know if I really want to go that route again. I hate seeing the guys that are injured like that and they can't finish games. They have these injuries, and I know it can come back up because those are the type of injuries that can reoccur. So I'd say that's his biggest concern personally, especially when you talk about how much are we willing to pay him? Are we willing to give up picks for him? Because best ability is availability. I don't remember who said that, but it's super important. I mean, Anthony Lynn will know better than I do on on how he'd fit to his offense next season. But do I think from what I've seen he could be a scheme fit? I do, because I see him in a lot of mixed directions, counters, bootlegs, play action, in those situations. And I think he's a smart offensive lineman that could, plug in and play. So yeah, I think he could, especially if he can play some right tackle as well and give you some help where you need it. But I think schematically, I think he'd be a fit for this line scheme. The question is, does Anthony Lynn like him like that to trade for him? I don't know how he feels about him personally. I know from what I've seen, I think he could fit the scheme, but Anthony Lynn knows better. Personally, man, I'm not super interested in this move. I just think, first off, you're trading for him. His base salary for next season is over $11 million, which is why I would say that. Now, there are no guarantees, so for them, they're like, hey, let's just get off the books here. Let's save a lot of money. But for the team, I don't think I'd want to give up a pick and to take on that contract. I just wouldn't want to do it. He's not coming off of that great of a season. I mean, to be honest with you, Anthony Lynn should know better than anybody what's really going on and if he can be an offensive lineman that's, good enough to start, because the right guard spot is up for grabs. We don't know what we have in Logan Stenberg, so there is still question there. We don't know if Big V could take that role. He seemed to struggle a little bit last season, but he didn't get to only just play that position. And then we have Terrell Crosby, right? So, there are questions on the right side of the offensive line. Maybe this is something where they try to pull off a crazy trade where they try to save like $4.5 million, trade away Big V, kind of take on the dead cap now, $5.6 million, take on that contract, and then they're in a position where if the Chargers are willing to do it because they have the money to do it, the line's like, okay, now this is my guy because I'm connected with him. He's still young enough that he could be a piece. His contract voids after the 2021 season, so you would give him from this year, but I believe you wouldn't have him under contract technically for the next 2 seasons, so you would have to give him some sort of deal there. So, yeah, it would help you this season, but there's a deal that you would have to get. So I'm assuming if you're making this trade or if you're, signing him, you're going to sign him for a few years at his age, I would think. Maybe you give him a 1-year prove-it deal in free agency if the asking price isn't that high, and maybe you say, hey, prove it, let's see what you can do. But I'm assuming it'd be a few years you would give. Worry about how much the price is. Now, if he gets cut, which I think is very possible that's going to happen, and he gets released, now you're starting to pay guys. I think, if it's around $5-6 million, it could be possible. The issue is I think his price is going to be too high. There's not a lot of great guards out in this class. Not saying he's a great guard, that are under 30, though, that are young like him. I just think his price is probably going to be too high for the Lions. I'd probably focus more on if you want to go the draft route. But then you don't have tons of picks, to be fair. The question is, how do you feel about Logan, right? Do you feel Logan can take that role? No? Do you feel Big V can take that role? Because Big V probably isn't going anywhere. Can't cut Big V. You could do a post-June 1st cut, which I think would lose about $1 million. So, you know, you're probably not going to cut him. So if you could somehow try to package him in a trade and get Trai Turner return who's still under contract, someone that Anthony Lynn's work with, then that's where I think maybe your best bet is, because he might be like, hey, this is my guy. You know, this is a guy that I like, or something like that. But I think otherwise, because they're similar in age, otherwise, this isn't someone that I would be very high on targeting. I don't think he's a bad player, and if you're not completely still in the right guard spot, whether that's if we're going to be able to get one in the draft because how many picks we have, or it's like, okay, I don't think Big V can start at this role. Logan, I don't think he can either. We don't really have a guard. We need someone to protect the quarterback. And look, is there scheme potential here? Yes. I think there's enough agility where he could play the outside of these play-action bootlegs, things like that. But I think it's someone the Lions could have on the radar. The draft, you know, how many picks do you have, right? That's where you have to figure that out. So if you want to get someone now that has connections, this could be an option. That's why it's out there. That's why I think the Big V trade maybe. That trade would save you $4.8 million. So if some reason they want to take that on, not saying the Panthers would, but if they wanted to, then maybe you could try that. Maybe you throw in a pick as well just to do it. Maybe you don't. I don't know. But this is probably someone that I don't think the Lions will land. I just think financially it probably won't work out the best by a trade. I don't think they'll probably take Big V. And I just don't think the Lions are in that situation right now where they want to take on that kind of cap hit. So I don't think this will be a trade for Lions. But to be honest with you, Anthony Lynn should know better than anybody on this current staff what he is about and whether or not he'd be a good fit for us for years to come. Because if you could land him, get him for the rest of his contract, you have, you know, Frank, who you're going to have to who you're going to have to extend at some point. But then you have Decker, Jonah, right? I mean, most of your offensive line is pretty much set. So, you know, I mean, that's where it comes down to. So let me know your thoughts, comments below. Thank you for watching, and I'm out.